Two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, but today, my name is David Streggy, and we are going. And this is my friend Boris, by the way.
Hi.
And we have been having fun watching films lately, and. So from 2007, by director Daniel Myrick, who brought to us a straight-to-DVD video that was distributed by Warner Brothers, a thriller of a film called Believers. And before we get into our first impressions, I'm just going to say what IMDb says about the film, and then we'll see what each of us thought of the film, and then go from there. So, two paramedics responding to an emergency call find themselves kidnapped by a religious sect whose great obsession is to stop the end of the world by committing suicide and killing people. So, what did you think of the film? Was this a first time watch for you?
Well, yes. Earlier today was my first time, and now once again with you. So 2 times in a day, but yeah, that's the first time altogether. And I must say, I really enjoyed the movie. It's a very good and suspenseful thriller and a good mystery story with this religious fiction tone, which I kind of like that sort of movies. And it's definitely very exciting and enjoyable, and it has a really mind-blowing plot twist at the end, which I like a lot. My main complaint would be that there were some plots introduced that weren't properly explained by the end, but we will get into that.
Okay. And I picked up this film when it was out on straight to DVD. And I heard about it through several friends. And then I finally picked it up probably in 2008. And I was wowed by it, at least the first time that I saw it, because, you don't expect that kind of an ending, and you don't expect, that kind of thing going into it. I mean, you kind of expect a bit of nonsense, but the full bullshit religious phenomenon of it was an intriguing film at the time, and I thought that it was told rather well, and for those in suspension of belief of this kind of a film, I thought it did rather nicely for those who are non-believers of this kind of a thing. I mean, it gives you that wonder, that what if moment, and I liked it. But let's go into the story in a little bit more detail. So, I don't know what it is about films that I like, but I always find that one of them's name is Dave. It's like, why is it got to be Dave? What did Dave do to anyone? I mean, why does everyone got to fuck with Dave? But
I
and
noticed that. I was reminded of you while watching it.
but in any case, we get a firefighter and his partner, David Vaughn, and his partner Victor, played by Johnny Messner and John Huertas, who uh, apparently one of them is somewhat religious, but we don't really realize that until later. And the other one is kind of an atheist, but he um, has a child on the way, and they receive a call um, from someone, and they just respond to it. And they get to the location. There's a little girl by her mother, and apparently this woman has passed out. What do you think about these two firefighters at first when you meet them, and when you meet um, his wife and a captain and all that jazz? What do you think of about these characters?
Well, actually, at the very beginning, I had the impression that maybe this guy, Dave, nothing to do with your name, of course. I actually got the impression that he might be some kind of an asshole because there was this scene where he was so strictly unwilling to share his food, and then there was that scene where he was all happy about his upcoming child being a boy, which made him seem a little bit sexist. So I thought those things might play a part in the movie later on and turn him into a villain of some sort. But then no, there was nothing like that. This other guy, Vic, I thought he was rather funny at first. I didn't quite expect things with him to turn out later the way they did.
No, definitely not. So these two get a call to go out because apparently a woman has collapsed, and that's all that they get. And then when they arrive on the scene, of course, they're trained paramedics, so they get out of their vehicle and they try to revive her. And it's kind of weird and kind of strange because the gas attendant is kind of acting weird. A gas station attendant nearby. And the little girl keeps on saying, "Hurry up, they're coming." And they're oblivious to all of this. They're just there to do their job. And suddenly there are these guys in white uniforms that show up in a truck with guns, and they take the girl, take the woman, and they're in disbelief because this woman could die, and they have no weapons or anything, and they're being told to get in inside the truck and go with them. So I guess they kind of do. But what do you think about this particular scene here?
Actually, I found it pretty strange. I noticed some things like the girl was supposedly there with her mother being passed out or maybe even dead, and yeah, the girl was calling for help, but she did not seem to be in a usual way in distress about her mother possibly being dead. She seemed oddly calm in a situation like that. And yeah, she did seem to know about those people who would come for them. Now, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't quite understand. From what I understood, they did something to the woman for her soul to go out and explore this other side of the universe where they were all supposed to go to, from what I understood. But then, why did they leave her there where someone could find her? And yeah, it was a bit confusing now that I'm thinking about it.
uh,
Uh,
so in the but also in the very beginning we get of the film, we get an interview with apparently a spokesperson for what they call themselves is the Quanta Group, which is supposed. They were saying that they were not a religious cult. They were trying to save humanity. Um, and in this interview, and it seemed like this news reporter was kind of, misbelieving them and whatnot, and all she cared about was like the next, show that was going to be on. But
yeah.
what did you think about meeting or seeing this um, character being interviewed? I thought that um, I thought it was definitely different.
Yeah, it was actually. This is probably the first thriller or horror movie that I've seen about a religious cult that actually involved maths and science into their whole philosophy and everything. So yeah, it definitely was different.
Well, yeah. Once, well, when they came across the mother, and they started unbuttoning her shirt, they noticed that there were these tattoos of mathematical scripture, well, scripting, a script of some sort, uh, written like mathematical numbers on her, and they thought that was weird. And then when they got back to the compound or complex, because apparently these people are in some kind of a commune like structure where it seems like they're kind of an end of the days kind of a cult. Even though they say they're not a cult, any person that seems to be run by a totalitarian leader, um,
Mm.
or seems to be brainwashed and saying the same things, kind of a Stepford existence. You know, um, for all intents and purposes looks like a cult. I mean, they've got guns. They have small children who are taught separately. And these three individuals, the young child by the name of Libby, I guess her name is, as we find out.
Yes.
Libby tries to get the teacher. Well, we find out his name is the teacher. But apparently, the Quanta Group is this group of people who evidently were scientists, were the best of their minds, and found a formula that supposedly will save them and bring them into a whole new world, because they believe that the world will, as we know it, will end within a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
They don't know exactly when, but they have calculated the exact time in which they were to ascend in some way, shape, or form. And it just so happens that these two fire fighters, kind of like were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they just ended up being sort of kidnapped, and now that they've seen them and know of their existence, now they must become part of them and their existence, and because evidently they're special people, and all that jazz. What do you think about all this? The fact that we learn that okay, they take them once they take them there, they take them to what they call a reflection room. Which what is that room?
It looks somewhat like a restroom, like it has toilets and stuff, but it was the way they described it. It sounds like some sort of punishment room, like someone was sent there to be all alone and have nothing to do, like in prison.
Yeah, it definitely does seem that way. And there are all these like things written on the bathroom stalls, and there just so happens to be a vent up above Dave's stall, which he opens up the vent and he goes up and he sees this lady talking to all these small children, and his partner Vic. He's been shot. He was shot at the location in which they found the mother, because he tried to come towards them or whatnot. So because he's been shot, Dave wants him to go to either a hospital or get some help, and they seem to prolong this a little bit. What do you think about that part of it, where he's been shot, and it doesn't seem like they want to take care of him right offhand and whatnot? Do you think that's kind of cruel?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I didn't doubt that they would fix him in the end, as they did. But yeah, they did prolong it a bit too much. Uh,
Well, and I guess we get a moment where they feel like the mother of this Libby, that she was on the point of death, and so when they see her alive again, and whatnot, there, well, at least Vic seems to be quite amazed that she is still alive, or
ye-
whatnot, and I guess she becomes like a focal person to kind of transition Vic into their existence ultimately. What do you think about that?
Well, actually, that's one of those aspects of the movie that I said at the beginning I wished was more elaborated and better explained. Like, yeah, for example, we see that they bring her back to life somehow, but we never get to hear exactly how they did it, or they mention some great formula which we never even get to read in the whole movie. Some things like that, like they seem to have some theory, some philosophy that they believe in, but we get to know only bits of pieces of it. It's not really properly elaborated in a way that maybe real life people could also debate. Like, if there were some people who are prone to believing some things like that, then they might be interested in debating a theory like this, like it may or may not be true, this and that, but since it wasn't really properly elaborated in the movie, a lot of it was left a bit unclear. So, like I said, that would be my one issue with this story.
Hmm. I think there was enough um, said, enough for you to believe that whatever it is that they believed it, and Um, I, they did say that there wasn't a whole lot of time uh, to explain everything. They were trying to make sure that both of them were um, fact brought into the quay because you know anything that went off kilter or skew could like according to them they could upset the balance of what they were trying to do, um, which is save themselves to go on to a different plane of existence, um, almost like a spiritual realm of sorts. um, but yeah, I guess ultimately they do fix him up, Vic, um, and but they kind of use um, the um, sex of the mother in order to bring Vic into the hole, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, in my opinion, that's another aspect of the story that wasn't properly explained. I mean, it's not really realistic that one sex could so radically change someone's beliefs about existence itself, like make them suddenly question everything they knew and accept a whole different ideology unless there were some supernatural elements involved, or maybe some science fiction elements or something. We didn't get to see exactly what was done to him through that sex. So,
No, but by that time, I believe that he had like bled out like to an extreme that he might have been floating in and out of reality, in a sense. But I guess the most character that we get from any of these is in fact Vic, because uh, we get the whole backstory of him when supposedly his mother like worked three jobs just to get him into the paramedic school, and um, um, I guess there was a time when he had to he ended up being like in the presence of a priest, and he prayed for, I guess, either his mother or his brother or something like that. And I guess he had a brother who died.
yeah, they mentioned something about that, I think, but we didn't get to know too much about it from what I remember.
No, but ultimately it seemed like at the end of the whole thing, it seemed like uh, he was at least at peace with everything. Um, Everything that had happened, and he evidently had thrown his rosary, I think that he had from his mother, into the fires. That it seemed like all the people were throwing their belongings into a fire, getting rid of their memories, things that would keep them, you know, remembering things of their earthly uh, lives, I guess.
Mm,
What do you what do
yeah.
you what do you think about that aspect? The fact that they were burning their belongings.
Well, actually, I must say I didn't understand why that was necessary.
Well, wherever they were going, they weren't going to need it. If that is in truth what they believed. I mean,
Well, okay,
to be
yeah,
honest, I mean, even though we collect movies, I don't think if there was a heaven, we'd be able to take it up with us.
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
I guess.
I'd love to be able to. I'd love to be able to watch the shit in heaven, but it's definitely not gonna pass over with me into the afterlife if there is one.
Mm, yeah, that's true.
But
But
it's an it's a very touchy subject, I guess. Is there life after death? You know, this kind of thing, and it's always kind of a what if kind of a thing. You don't really think about it because you know that death will eventually come, but you know what happens after. You know, do you ever think about what happens after?
oh, I do. But yeah, I can't say I have any answer, man. I don't really.
Well, yeah, but apparently these people uh, do. Apparently, they want to transcend whatever it is, because evidently they have these canisters of inhaled substances that they have acquired. Uh, Apparently, it's a way to put them to sleep and whatnot. But in the essence of what we see, um, did I mean, do you think that it's possible that they could have known something that we don't?
Well, in the end, well, spoiler alert, in the end, I guess the idea was to imply that they really did know something that we didn't, and that maybe that they were right all along. But in my opinion, I guess that's still debatable, even with what we saw at the end. Yeah, they may have gotten it right that the world was coming to an end, that there would be this rain of fire and things like that, but did their mission really send them to some other side of the universe or whatever it was that they wanted to go to, or if they just killed themselves? We don't really know that.
Well, on that note, not everything happened the way that they had wanted it to in the end either, because they couldn't leave um, any anyone behind. Neither could uh, could everything
Ooh.
have been as unbalanced as they said. I mean, according to the IMDb, I mean, these guys were around uh, uh, to stop the end of the world by committing suicide and killing people.
Um, how?
Whereas the film itself seemed to be like they were more about saving themselves and going on to a new world.
Well, yeah, but I guess the concept of saving in this story is that when they go to this other side or whatever it was, they can keep multiplying there and keep the human species in existence. And if they didn't go there, then all of humanity would have died.
Correct. Now, ultimately, what do you think about the characters involved in this actual quanta group? Um, there were a couple. I mean, when they first arrived, um, they were being hosed down and cleansed, and whatnot, and then brought to talk to that initial dude with the glasses. But what did you think about that dude with the glasses?
Well, all of those characters were actually rather mysterious and made in a way that you distrust them throughout almost the whole story. Yeah, that guy with glasses was interesting. That was the one from the interview at the beginning, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Uh, uh,
So I guess that he was played by John Farley. Um, but what? I mean, to me, I thought he was a peaceful character. He seemed like he really believed like what he was saying, and he's the one who brought them to the teacher. And it seems like he was like his number one right hand man.
uh, yeah, he was one of the more peaceful ones, I guess.
But what did you think about him in the end? Did you think of him as an evil character, or would you think of him as an evil person?
Well, at the very end, I guess not, because the end implies that they were right all along, that the world really was coming to an end, and what they were doing was done out of genuine belief. They definitely really believed that what they were doing was a way to save themselves and make it possible for humanity to keep existing somewhere away from Earth. Now, whether what they were doing was right or wrong, it was left up to interpretation in the end. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't say they were evil when they actually believed they were doing the right thing.
Meanwhile, on in the real world, I guess apparently they were still considered to be on call or on location, and so I think the fire chief was um, aware that they were somewhat missing, so he went in search of them, and I guess he got clocked in the head later on. What did you think about that moment when he came around? Do you think that part was kind of creepy?
A bit, yeah, I definitely was suspenseful, like when he was having a conversation with that other guy, you could clearly tell there is something wrong with the guy, and then you see his tattoo and know he is a member of the cult. So yeah, it was a bit predictable that the guy would get either killed or kidnapped or something like that. Mm,
Well, yeah, and it seems like this dude was kind of like the um, guy to make sure that that no one else showed up, asking questions and whatnot. And I guess he also uh, had some more canisters of poisonous inflammables, inhalables, for their ascending or ascendature, so to speak, which I guess we don't know exactly what he brought, but we know that they were dangerous and hazardous.
yeah.
So I guess when it came down to it, um, Dave was they brought some electrocution method to him, I guess, and they made sure that he was bound on a table, and they attached some electrocution cables to, I guess, him to try to bring him about and try to get him believing what they believe, and I don't think it worked.
Yeah, it didn't. And actually, okay, I don't really know much about those things, but I guess it wouldn't work in real life either.
Um, I guess it depends on how strong the mind is. In real life, that kind of thing was used, especially in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I mean, they don't do anything as barbaric anymore, but that was electroshock treatment, and it
Oh yeah.
it's not used these days, but it was a way to clear someone who was a psychotic, clear the mind, so to speak. Oftentimes, after electroshock treatment, people were more like zombies, and they had no mind. In fact, the brain would often be dead. They would still be living, but also be dead. And you don't want to be that kind of a vegetable.
Uh, Indeed, but yeah, I guess in that case you would just have to lie that you started to believe it so that they will stop torturing you, but that's not the same as genuinely coming to believe it.
And I believe that pill was more to kill him. I think it was some kind of a poison pill because he was throwing up afterwards after Dave got out of those restraints. He had thrown up some of his, whatever was in his stomach, and it didn't look pretty in that sink that you saw him. But I guess Libby's mother ended up waking up from her brainwashing after she saw her child go into the big room where everybody was gathering to ascend or whatever. And she ended up going and hiding somewhere. What did you think of that moment?
If we are thinking of the same moment, I actually found that a bit confusing too, because we saw that she apparently changed her mind and eventually didn't join the others, but we didn't get to know exactly why.
Well, I think whatever trance that she was in had broken once she saw her child looking around for her, because she was Libby was told that her mother would be there to meet her, and when she didn't see her there, she was looking around for her, and I think she teared up, and I think that's when she finally broke whatever hold they had on her for a moment. And unfortunately, I have actually met one or two people that have been in a cult and have been extracted from a cult. And when they're like that, their mind is like, it doesn't really seem like it's there. It's like they believe they believe everything up until a certain point, and then suddenly, now that person is no longer there within the cult, it's like they're still there and yet they're not, and it's like you're meeting like someone who has just been reborn, and they're just starting to figure out who they are, what their identity is.
I can somewhat imagine. And if you can share what kind of cult was it that those people you were in?
Well, in college, I had known a um, a young lady by the name of Lori, and she was going out with a Mormon by the name of Mickey, and their relationship was like fire and ice. And I happened to be in the vicinity of when he actually like abused her in public, and we were surrounded by police at that moment, and were taken, um, uh, and I was let go, and um, I guess her mother had sent a investigative detective to figure out where she was shortly after that, and I was working here in Wisconsin at one point in time. This was before I had even met my fiance, Tammy, and I guess I went with him, and I left my job to try to find her because she was a friend, and we found her, and he took us to Ohio, um, and I guess her mother had contacted a guy who knows a lot about cults and a lot about extracting people from cults, and he was basically trying to tell her that, you know, um, there was like a 3 day thing that she had to sit through, and there's actually a place in Ohio that not many people know about, where it's like kind of like a safe way place, um, for people who have been cults to unravel. It's like a hotel in a, or kind of like a cabin out in out in the woods, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And there was another person that was there, who was from a cult called Kobu. Evidently, it was the Church of Biblical Understanding, um, and it
Whew.
was one of the top 10 dangerous cults. Um, and
Whew.
they had been extracted, and their mind was, it was like meeting someone who hadn't really been on this earth for very long. Like their brain was like still learning, you know, like had just begun like a few days before that, you know.
Yeah.
It was like speaking to a child,
Whew.
and it was it was heart wrenching, because, you know, I'd found myself, you know, learning about things that I had never even known about because of, you know, this abusive relationship that my friend that's a girl had been through, and her mother cared about her mother cared about her so much that she wanted her to understand on a level that maybe someone could tell her that, you know, a relationship can also be a totalitarian relationship. It doesn't have to be with just a whole bunch of people. It can be between you and me, or vice versa. I
Good point.
could be brainwashing you into if I gave you a gun and told you to shoot someone, you could probably do it. You know, you uh, If you did it, of course, I would never speak to you again. But that's that's a different story, and we don't know each other from here on forward. If you go kill someone, you know, but you
Well,
know,
I have no plans of doing anything like that, so don't
good,
worry.
good. Then I don't have to worry about that. But see, some people's minds can be uh, so easy to control. I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
and I mean, if you wanted to get someone to do something, all it takes is a little bit of a power suggestion, and you know, sometimes it's like that in order to get people to do that. But there are strong people out there with strong minds, and I think that's what I wanted to say about this particular film. Is Dave? Um, he believed a certain amount of belief, and he was not going to be bullshitted. And but here's the thing: he lost out on an opportunity, possibly, and that's why I thought this film would be a good one, because in order to believe something, sometimes you have to suspend that belief and go with it. You know, this is that type of a film where you have to think about it, and it makes you think: is there something like this out there? You know.
Well, actually, yeah, like there are all sorts of conspiracy theorists and stuff out there today. Like some people believe this, some believe that, while uh, many rational people say it's all nonsense. But then again, you never know when someone might turn up who will say something that will seem crazy to the whole world, but maybe they will turn out to be correct in the end. You never know.
Yeah, I was trying not to say too much about the individuals involved, because and some of the situation that surrounded what I saw, and whatnot, to kind of protect, because I wasn't probably supposed to know about this place.
Oh,
It's a place that's supposed to be secret from, you know, cults and things of that nature.
oh well, I did say you could say more if you could share. If you said no, that would have been okay.
I know, but I wanted to share a little bit of it, and from unfortunately, in order to experience that kind of thing, you kind of have to live through it and live through seeing it. It's not enough to just describe it. I guess in a sense, I wish you could have been there to see the exact thing that I'm talking about, with the person who had been extracted from the Kobu. But it's just something to know that's out there, that there are people who are trapped in these type of situations, and some of them escape, some of them do not. I mean, look at Jonestown. Have you ever heard of
Hmm.
Jonestown?
I'm not sure.
Jonestown was one of the first, if I remember correctly. Um, Reverend Jones took his people to Guyana, his Heaven's Gate people, and
Oh, oh yeah.
he made them drink the Kool-Aid, and they were what was called a suicide cult. He
I
basically. Yep.
Yeah, I did hear of Heaven's Gate.
But he had his cult members drink something, and at the end, most of them died. But there were like maybe a very few survivors from that. Uh, Also, Waco, um, yeah, the Branch Davidians.
Oh,
Those that was another suicide cult. If I remember correctly, um, they their leader thought himself to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and
yeah, many people thought they were something like that.
well, many people believe that, and so a lot of people killed themselves in the Davidian name. So, and that was a very publicized event in Waco, Texas. That was a standoff, kind of. But in any case, um, we get to meet the teacher in here. What do you think about the teacher?
Wow, another mysterious character that was left a bit unfinished. There was this thing about him supposedly having some allergies and not appearing in front of anyone in person, but then we didn't get to see what happened with that. Was it really allergies, or did he have another reason not to show up? And if he did have allergies, how did he get them? How did it come into play in the whole story? I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it was left unfinished and unexplained.
Hmm. I'm not sure if it was unfinished, but a lot of him was left unexplained, and I think we were supposed to accept um, the fact that he was mysterious, but known enough to these people that his word was truth, and whatever they believed is true, and it's obvious that these people believed what this teacher was teaching, and what these other people seem to know really well too. They apparently found some formula of life, and whether or not they did or didn't afterwards, that's unexplained as well. But the ending of this movie, and spoiler alert, because we probably have spoiled the shit out of this movie.
Yeah.
Apparently, there are three that survive this encounter with these people. One of them being Libby's mother, the
Mm,
second of them being Libby, and then the third being Dave. And apparently, we get a moment. Apparently, a month later, um, and they're having breakfast or lunch or whatever, and suddenly something seems to be happening outside, and they walk out and see that all their neighbors are looking up into the sky, and evidently all these things of fire are coming down from the sky. So
mm,
it looks like the end of the world is happening. Um,
yeah.
and according to the cult leader, they said that the world would begin to end in fire.
Yeah, so that was the implication of them being right all along. But like I said, I think that's still debatable because what we saw at the very end only proves that they were right about the world being about to end. But whether what they did really brought them to some kind of safe place in another part of the universe, or if they just killed themselves. We don't know that.
I see. This is what I thought. I think because they escaped and they upset the balance and everything, and those three, like, um, you know, I don't think they got to that, heavenly spot or that other part of the universe. I think they fucked it up for themselves, so now we're
Hmm.
fucked. So now the world is going to end, and your chance to get saved is fucked too. So, um,
That could
so,
be it as well.
it left it up to several possibilities. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It left you wondering whether they did, in fact, make it to the other plane of existence, or whether, vice versa. And I think, think in this circumstance, he screwed himself out of a chance of uh, living immortal.
Yeah.
um, but on the other hand, um, would you have fought just like he had? In the end, like he did. I mean, uh, would you have just straight believed like Vic, or would you have fought till the very end for your sanity?
Good, that's a good question. I probably wouldn't come to believe something that I don't believe, and I probably would want to fight, but whether I would have the courage to do it when I'm alone against so many people with guns and stuff like that, I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, you never know what you might have done or said if they'd have tried that shock treatment on you too. Well, what would your pain threshold have been?
Uh,
If the
yeah,
option was
yeah, I have
to
no
just
idea.
if the option was to believe in this truth and this formula, and or to live, I think I might have chosen the latter. To be honest, I would have chosen to live, possibly. Having seen that,
Yeah.
having seen this movie too, I would have chosen the latter.
I I do see why.
But in any case, let's see. The director of this, if I remember correctly, yes, he is the writer of the. He is okay. So he is the director of the original Blair Witch Project. He is the director of The Curse of the Blair Witch. Um, he is a writer for the um, Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2, at least the characters that are involved in it. After this, he did a movie called Solstice, then a movie called The Objective, Skyman, and I guess there was a movie called Under the Bed, which was a TV movie in 2017. And I guess um, lately he did a short film called Black Veil. But
Ooh, ooh.
other than that, yeah, he was a producer behind the new Blair Witch. Um, but that one was done by someone entirely different. But he is the director behind the original Blair Witch Project, along with Eduardo Sanchez.
Cool.
So, and that was the Blair Witch Project, right?
I have heard of it, but haven't gotten to watching it yet.
What?
Uh, yeah. Is it
Okay.
that found footage horror movie, if I remember correctly?
Yes. It is a
Ah,
found footage film, and I won't tell you anything about it until after you see it. Maybe we'll have to. Let's see. Next week. Well, let's. We'll talk about next week in a little bit. Let's finish up here. So, um,
okay.
we have basically said what this film is about, and most of what it's basically straightforward. Um,
Yeah.
but did you have a favorite moment that you might like to share with our audience here?
Phew. Well, one of my favorite moments would be when uh, Dave got to his fire truck and broke through that door and tried to escape. That was kind of badass. I wish it hadn't just been all in vain in the end. But yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
Okay. I have to admit one of my favorite moments was when we get the mother riding Vic into uh,
Ah,
into oblivion there for a moment. So we get to see an ass shot with her and all those tattoos. I just think that moment is kind of sexy. I don't know why. um, but
well, there isn't much to know why. It's obvious why.
but in any case, um, ah. As far as the music goes, what did you think about the music?
Well, it seemed okay, pretty fitting for the movie, and especially those, well, okay, that wasn't quite music, but those weird noises that you hear throughout the movie while they were trapped there. It really has this nightmarish, brainwashing vibe that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, let's see. The music was by K's L Atraki, and I guess there have been quite a few films that this person has been behind. I guess the I guess let's see. Okay, so they did the music behind The Objective and Alan Quartermain and the Temple of Skulls, Alien Raiders from 2008, Zombie Apocalypse, Battle of Los Angeles, Nazi Robots, Doctor Who, The Dream Child, Midnight Sun. Which I think I've got Midnight Sun. That's a vampire film.
Ooh.
Planet of the Sharks. So a lot of these are like sci-fi movies from the Sci-Fi Channel. But some of these are straight to video films. Uh, but Tofu, the vegan zombie, and the zombie dearest, a short film. But other than that, there's a lot of short films that I guess they've been part of lately. So, or whoever it is, um, spans a decade of. Okay, it's a him. So K is Al Atraki. It's a weird name. I guess he's from Florence, Tuscany, Italy, and
Oh.
he was born in 1969. Alrighty. Other than that, I don't know. I didn't really hear the music per se, but from what I understand, it went with it well.
Yes.
This complex seemed like it was like a post-apocalyptic like compound. That is almost like a military complex, you know. And but other than that, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about the film?
I think everything I was going to say, I have said it by now. I don't remember if there was anything else.
Okay. I think everything that I have talked about or whatnot has been said. So next week, I figure we will check out This Is the End, which is a comedy horror film in a sense, but it's got some seriousness to it. So
that will be interesting.
Stay and stick around, and we next week, same time, same channel. We'll probably be going on about This Is the End. So this week's theme was kind of like a suspension of belief and faith, since we got on that subject last week. But this is the end, ladies and gentlemen. And will you be around to share in this in the explanation of it? So
yeah.
Thanks for listening. Have a great evening, morning, or wherever you are. And thanks for watching.
Thank you all.
And you just have to ask yourself one question. What do you believe?
Oh, indeed.